Apparently, there's some real talk about changing the status of marijuana.
Yeah, I was reading about that a couple weeks ago, right?
But there's something that just came out yesterday, too, where they think that Trump might declassify it and take it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, which would change everything. And there was an article about the economics of it, because they were talking about these businesses, how they're taxed, and how, federally they're still operating like criminals. You know? It's like that's how it's viewed by the federal government. Views it as a Schedule 1 substance. And if you get arrested for it, you're fucked. Where they're going to change right now they have a limited ability to bank. There's the interest rates are all fucked up. Everything's fucked up, and just that alone would make a huge economic impact. I mean, if you want to do something, first of all, you would kill a lot of the interest, a lot of the financial interest that the cartels have in it. If all of a sudden it becomes legal here, like the cartels they're probably going to be involved still a little bit because they're involved in it already. They're involved in avocados. I had Ed Calderon on yesterday. He was explaining how they're involved in illegal fuel. The human trafficking is a giant business. They have many horrible interests. But you would, at the very least, you would empower American businesses to do it legally and normally, and have organic marijuana, air quotes, because some of the stuff they're finding in California that the cartel's running is they're using these terrible pesticides and herbicides that are like insanely toxic and illegal everywhere else. You can't use them on American crops, but yet they're using them on this marijuana because it's illegally
being sold at like dispensaries and stuff?
No, that's being sold. It's 90% of all the marijuana that's sold in all the places where marijuana is illegal.
Right.
The cartels are growing.
Right.
And they're growing it in California in national forests because it's a misdemeanor to get caught illegally growing marijuana in California. Okay. There's a great book, John Norris, Hidden War, that's all about that. He's a game warden who had to find out about this the hard way and then became a part of a tactical unit where they would go in and fight the cartels in the woods. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. So if he does that, that'll be another good thing. The other good thing that he's been doing is getting these people together that have been in conflict forever and making them shake hands. And having conversations, peace talks. Like how many different countries have had representatives agree to peace talks because of Trump? I was reading this breakdown of all the different times he's done this.
He intervened in not intervened, but with the India-Pakistan thing, I know he got all of them on the phone, and he's, I obviously just had Putin over here. But yeah, I think there was a few examples of that, which is great.
It's great, yeah. So it's not all negative.
Well, it's not only is it great, right? But isn't it so insane that it took this long for just with the Putin and Donald Trump that I always say, and I know this is kind of like a hippie-ish thing to say, but I think the world needs a little bit more of that. But okay, it's kind of crazy that war still exists. It's kind of crazy that we're at the, you'd almost feel like if you saw a society and you're like, wait, you've gotten to the point where you have the written language and 2-story buildings. You'd be like, you probably should have figured out something other than war at this point. But yet, you're talking about a society with the internet and skyscrapers and heart surgery and all these things. And but still, and we have international governance of some sort, you have the United Nations and things like this. And you're telling me there is international law, and the first rule isn't that if any countries are ever going to go to war, you guys have to get in a room together. Before we go to war, we need to know that we've exhausted every alternative option that there is, especially when it's the United States and Russia. Right. You know what I mean? And yet it took all this time for the first time for the two leaders of them to sit down and meet. It's crazy. But on the positive side, they did just sit down and meet. That's a lot better than not sitting down and meeting.
And that's what's unique about him, is that he wants these things to happen. He truly doesn't want us to be going to war. I mean, he ran on that, and I think it's true. And despite what happened in Iran, it was at least limited, and it seems like there was some communication that made it limited.
Well, there's no question having a president whose default setting was to desire an off-ramp made a huge difference there.
Yeah.
Because, if you had like, if this was a Dick Cheney, George W. Bush type of presidency, they could have found any excuse. You know what I mean? Like, once you get to that point, they could have found any reason to keep it going.
Yeah, but at least that kind of made sense to me because there were these right-wing people. Whereas seeing the left wing calling for war and saying that Ukraine was going to win this thing, like, God damn, what happened? How did it flip? How did it flip that if you want a conclusion to the war that you're supporting Putin? How did that flip? How did it flip where people aren't trying to exhaust every possible way to stop the end of the killing of all these people that are conscripted and sent to the front lines to die when they don't want to be there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right.
It's crazy.
Well, also even the where people were like bragging about like the 12-day war, which again is not clear that it's over yet. You don't really get to decide that until years later. They didn't call it World War I until World War II came around, and then you go, oh, that was the First World War.
Right. What does it say?